How's everybody doing? We could chat a little bit at first and talk about how you did last week. I know that we had a real lot of chatter on our last webinar, and it was fabulous. I was so happy to hear how many people, really were working on the projects that they had, and it was exciting. So I'd love to hear how you're doing. Good, a little slow, but working. Well, this is Linda who just said that to me, and I think it's really relevant that I address this because Linda, I know what you've been doing. Now, Linda has been, she's inherited a lot of stuff from her mom and dad, and I believe your grandmother too, if I'm not mistaken, right? And you had a lot of really very good antique things and furniture, and you didn't want to just dump them, but at the same time you didn't want to keep them anymore, and you and your brother were working on getting them to auction and getting things going where now you freed up your space, you were living your own life, you weren't hindered by what other people wanted in their heyday, right? So when you're saying that it's happening a little slow, it's really not. It's not happening a little slow at all. I want everybody to know that exactly where they are is exactly where they need to be. I'm not saying that we don't ever challenge ourselves and we don't ever stretch ourselves and we don't ever, like I say, be our own mommies, right? Where we tell ourselves, wait a minute, I don't mean that we don't have to, step back and say, all right, am I doing the best I can? But the thing is that what happens most of the time is that we say, I'm not doing what I should be doing, but we never really step back and ask, am I doing the best I can? Because I think most of the time, we are. And even if that one particular day you said, forget it, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to watch movies or I'm going to go for a walk, then for that day, that was the best that you can. That was the best you could do that day. So I want you to give yourselves a break, all right? Please, I want you to celebrate the successes because we tend to see what we're not doing more than what we are. And remember what practice means. Practice means that you take a couple of steps forward, you take a couple of steps back. You take a couple of steps forward, you fall down, you get back up. You take a couple of steps forward, you sound great, you sound bad. You're doing good, you're not doing so great. And that's because you're practicing. You're not an expert yet. Practicing means that you don't really know. And you know what? It really doesn't. I hate when I don't finish a sentence. I'm sorry. If you're a baseball player, you know what they practice? They practice the fundamentals. They're very, very good at hitting a ball and at running bases and at getting the pop flies and the grounders. They're very good at that. They're professional ball players. But that's what they practice over and over, the fundamentals. So we just have to see that even the experts really never arrive, right? Everybody practices. Linda said that she did really, really well at auction and she feels so good. She made what she wanted to make. She did really a nice job with her sales for it, and it paid off. And this is the thing is that, oh, and Stacy said, yay, Linda. Linda was working on something that was kind of all encompassing. And that happens to us periodically. We tend to beat the crap out of ourselves when everything else is imperfect. And it really doesn't matter how the organizationally gifted person does it. It matters how we do it. So if you're working on a project and the way you work on a project, like let's say you're painting something, right? And while you're painting that area, the room kind of looks like a bomb hit it. And that's the way you work. I want you to be happy with the process. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. When you're done, you're going to clean up because now we have different habits. But our process of getting from here to there has to be our own. So the organizationally gifted people in the world, when they have a big project that they're working on, say, a surprise party or a holiday or a vacation or anything like, say they have a bunch of kids and they have to take them school clothes shopping and they're running around quite a bit, there's things that suffer for it, but their attitudes are so different than ours that when they come to, the things that are suffering, they just take care of it. Whereas we beat ourselves up, and then oftentimes what will happen is we'll get paralyzed and we'll just feel like it's futile, and then it becomes a treadmill of the same old, same old. So a lot of this is just attitude, is just seeing things in a different way and really fully and completely embracing exactly who you are and how you tick, because it's pretty wonderful. Okay, so let's see. Lisa said, "Hi, Kathy. This is my first live webinar with you." How wonderful. Hi, Lisa. Welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. Now, if you didn't see any of the other 2 webinars, they were pretty easy listen. And so you can put them on your smartphone, you can put them on a laptop, you can put them on your desktop, whatever, and do things. You can have them on your ears when you're walking around so that you can catch up. And really, there is no really catching up. It just get started. Get started wherever you are. And today is going to be fun. So I'm really happy you're here. All right. So now I'm going to get started. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue on with our webinar. And if anybody has any questions or comments, please type them in. I'll get to them at the end. Okay. I won't be addressing them in between. Okay. So we'll get started. So this is our room by room webinar. And what our goal was to accomplish was that we wanted a plan that would transition us smoothly from winter to spring and summer and to get us ready for fun. This time of year is a really great time of year that I think a lot of times we don't celebrate and we don't appreciate for how it slows down, right? It slows down this time of year. There isn't that much on our plates. And I think because of that, we really can hunker down and get some things done at home that normally what happens this time of year is we don't do. A lot of times it slows down this time of year, and this is the time of year that we don't want it to slow down because we've got the time for it. And then we can set ourselves up for success for the rest of the year while we're enjoying this part of the year. So I think it's pretty cool that we're doing this. We also want to see how we can enjoy the upcoming nice weather at a slower and leisurely pace, knowing that the house is under control. And the reason that I talk about it like that is because a lot of times we have guilt about enjoying ourselves because the house is such a wreck. So either we will not go out and enjoy ourselves because the house is a wreck, and we have that optimism that we have, that optimistic state of mind where we say, all right, we're just going to get this together and then we'll go out and play because we know we're going to do it. We want to do it. And then what happens? Days go by and they meld into weeks. And we find that, wow, we really wanted to go to the zoo, didn't we? Or we really wanted to go to the lake, but we didn't do it, did we? And oh my gosh, like 3 weeks have gone by since I said, all right, we'll do it. Because one day really can just melt into the next when there's no plan and no system and no goal really, except to just shoot from the hip. And so if we don't go out, we feel bad that we didn't. And if we do go out, we feel bad that we are. We feel like, oh, we really shouldn't be doing this. We really have to be doing that. So this way, if there's a plan in place, then we can actually enjoy our free time and leave that stuff behind, knowing that we're going to get to it. Okay. We had a comment on last week's webinar. I think it was Linda who said that She has things going on in the house and a plan for outside. So just knowing that there was a plan in place for outside gives you the freedom to, do whatever you're doing and not feel like, oh no, there's another thing that's going to fall through the cracks. Nothing is going to fall through the cracks here. We've got it under control. Okay, so now I'm going to do a very short review. Okay. We had to realize how we tick, right? How we think, how we go about to do things. That had to happen. We had to make a decision. What is our decision to do? And we had to remember it. I actually asked you to write it down and look at it every day. We had to determine a schedule. And by that, what I meant was determine how much time every day we're going to devote to this. So that if anything comes up across our plates or on the phone or in our lives, we will have something in place where we can say no, or we can, adjust our day so that we do what it is that we've determined to do, and to stay committed to it. That if we're not committed to something, it isn't going to happen. We talked about the warped perception of time that we have and how important it is for us to realize that. We think that everything takes no time at all, or things take forever. So that I go over pretty much really well in our first and second session, mostly in the first session. We talked about what do we do? What do we keep our seasonal clothes in? And I recommended an apple box, and we can get them in any produce store or the produce section of any grocery store. We were going to be very selective in the clothing that we are going to put away in our area that we're going to use now, and the area that we're going to put into storage. We're going to be very selected about those things. Lots of things are going to be purged in this process. We talked about that we wanted to establish a storage area so that when the fall and winter come around again, we will be so on top of it because of what we're doing now. So we really aren't only working on our summertime that's coming up, we're also working on the wintertime that has passed us or that is passing us. So that we're not going to say, okay, in the garage area or in the basement area where I'm going to keep these things, or in the attic or wherever, where I'm going to keep these things, I've got to clean it up now. No, you don't. There's a plan for that too. What we want to do now is we want to get all of our storage area things in the area where it will be. This way, when we get to that area, everything is consolidated. Everything is in a spot. And then when we organize that space, it's very easy to get things into place. Okay, another thing that we had to do was get a binder and make a divider for storage. We would label each box, wrote down the contents of the box, and where the box was stored. We talked about our entranceway and the outside. These are things that really have to be looked at now. A lot of times we waste so much of the precious time that we have that we want to enjoy by putting things off. So like, let's say it's almost Christmas time, all right? And you aren't planning too well. And then all of a sudden, bam, it's almost here. And then you start to decorate the entranceway or whatever it is you want to decorate. And you really didn't get to enjoy it very much anymore. I mean, at all. And then by the time that you did get to enjoy it, you kind of wished you never even started. So we don't want that to happen to our summertime, right? We don't want to leave all of the excess coats and the snow boots and the stuff that is accumulated. Even maybe you have ice, the stuff that you have to throw down on the ice, the sand or the salt or something. We don't want to leave that till last minute, because then the season almost gets away from us. And then when it is, we realize, I never really got to enjoy this area of my home because it was cluttered up with stuff that didn't belong there. So we want to be in the present. We want to realize that it's a life sucker, this whole procrastination thing. It sucks away what it is that we really want to have, and it goes down like into a sieve. And so that's what we are avoiding here. So we are thinking about our entrance. We thought about our entranceway, and it probably is still in the process, especially if you're in the north of the world. It's still very cold in some areas. I know I had my coat on with the hood the other day. So it's still cold in lots of places, but doesn't mean that we're not preparing, because there's lots of stuff we don't need now. Also, there's things that are outside that need to be taken in, not used anymore, organized somewhere where it goes in a shed or a garage or something like that. We talked about how there's things that have to be done outside that we want to be prepared for. We want to enjoy outdoor life. We want to take care of our cars, go on road trips, live life. That's what we want to do. And a lot of it has to do with outside now. Last week we added a new habit, and we made a dejunking plan. And these are the supplies that we needed for that dejunking plan. Let's see. The plan is pretty well talked about in session 2, so I'm not going to go over that now. But it is something that has to happen. You can't expect to organize clutter. It is not possible. What happens when we try to organize clutter is everything might look, and I know you've all done this, everything might look really nice. We've all gotten our houses ready for company. And then you need to find the tape or an earring or something to measure with, right? You need to find something. And what ends up happening, we end up spilling out of everything we search for because we have too much stuff. We have stuff we don't need. We have doubles and triples of things. We have broken things. We have things we don't like. And all of those things are concealed somewhere. So when you get the house cleaned up, the reason it doesn't stay that way, one reason is because of bad habits, but another reason that is the biggest reason is we have too much stuff that doesn't belong. So if you just have to look for one thing, it can make an entire room a complete disaster in no time at all. So dejunking is a must. We identified what we didn't want, and in turn, we identified what we did. And I asked you to ask these questions. What causes you to struggle the most? What causes you the most stress or embarrassment? What would make you the most happy to see change? And we talked about this last week, and I asked you to turn that around to be in a positive instead of a negative, so that then we could see what we do want. Because when we're focused on the problem, we can never see a solution. So that was, I think, very beneficial, and we got a lot of feedback from that last week. It was fun. Okay, and so now for our very last week, for this third video, we're going to add a new habit. We're going to talk about minimalism and the importance of doing the same things every day. Okay? All right, so the next habit we're going to add is it goes where it goes. So we have just say no, do it now, and the next one is it goes where it goes. Now in Tidy Tutor University, we have 12 habits that we embrace. And, of course, I can't go into all of them on this webinar, but these are really important and pivotal to, getting what we have to get done for what this purpose is. Now, the reason that I have this picture of Lassie and Timmy's mom is because one time, a long, long time ago, I was watching television and Lassie was on, and Timmy said, "Mommy, can I draw something? Can I do something with the crayons or something like that?" And he said, where can I get? And she said, "Timmy, the crayons are where the crayons go. The paper is where the papers go." And you would have thought that somebody just discovered fire to me. Like, oh my God, fire was just invented just now. We don't have to stay cold anymore. I thought that was the biggest, most amazing thing I've ever heard. I was, oh, it's where the paper goes. And that day I made a spot for paper. I remember exactly where it was. I mean, it's vivid to me like it was yesterday, in a cabinet in the kitchen that I lived in at the time. And I put paper and crayons and pencils and notebooks and everything that was kind of like scattered all over the house. That was, I had some in a junk drawer, some by my bed, some in the kids' room. All of them got put there, and it really started to revolutionize some of the things in my world. This "it goes where it goes" thing. So it goes where it goes, Timmy. So that's something that we're going to talk about. Now, the next slide I'm going to show you is some things in my house for the "it goes where it goes" thing. All right. All right. See this right here? It is a little wicker basket with a lid. And this is right next to my desk in my kitchen. The area that I work in for Tidy Tutor and everything that I do on my computer is in my kitchen. And so this is right next to it. Here's this where it sits on. And so these are like just little office supply things. And the way I did it was I have, a couple of boxes in there, like boxes that you would get for gifts. You got gifts in and things. And I stuck boxes in there. There's like, I think 3 boxes. And in here, oh, you know what these are? These 2 things? They're pens and Sharpies and that kind of thing. Well, when you get stuff from I don't know, a specialty store, or maybe you've gotten a pair of glasses or something, and they come in like a really cute bag, like a fabric bag or one of those dust-free type bags, and they have a drawstring. Well, I usually keep those, and I keep them in my vanity. And this way, if I'm going away, I'll stick my makeup and stuff in there, because then it's disposable. If I don't take it back with me, home with me, it doesn't matter. A lot of the times the stuff I'll take away with me, all of that will be disposable. It won't be stuff that I'm going to pack back up and take with me. So that's what I have those things for. And I thought, well, what a good idea. I'll put all my pens and stuff in there and stand them up in here. So that worked good. And so this is it goes where it goes, because it's confined, concealed. It looks good in my kitchen. And it's very close for me to get to. Now, this might look a little bit ridiculous to you. It is a little ridiculous to me. But on the door, this is my bathroom door. It's as soon as you walk into my apartment, you right across from you is the bathroom. And on the door, somebody was smart enough to put a stupid nail through it, all right? So it's a screw, a very, very big screw that's in this door. Well, if I took the screw off, what would happen is it would have a hole there. And I don't really want to spackle and paint. So I just stuck my keys on them. So the whole point to this is, have a place for your keys. Whatever works. Get a hook. Get your keys on it, so that this is where the keys go. We think that we're always in a rush. We are in a habit of just moving and going. And most of the time when we walk into the house, everything just gets dropped in one place. If you walked into the house with a pocketbook and a bag and your keys and your sunglasses, you're going to let go of those things, or we tend to let go of those things all in one spot. And then when we want to go somewhere, what do we have to do? We have to search for everything. So if it becomes a habit to say, no, it goes where it goes, then that kind of thing is very far and few between. This here is underneath my kitchen sink, all right? This is just a box. We don't have to do what everybody else does. Please always try to remember that, all right? It's just a box. This was a box hanging around in my house. These are my tools. I cut the top off the box, and I taped the top, in there so that there's 3 little compartments, and that's where my tools are. And they're under my sink because I use them almost every day. And I had them somewhere else, but I realized I pull them out way too often. I'm going to keep them more accessible. This is a shoebox. Inside this shoebox, I have my cleaning things. If you have more cleaning things than fit in a decent sized shoebox, you have too many. we have to remember that getting stuff on sale and buying in bulk really doesn't save us money, because what ends up happening is we end up just keep buying more and more and more, because there's always going to be a sale. Don't you know it? There's always going to be a sale. So you're going to see that item again and you're going to buy it now, and now it's going to make your life complicated because you don't have room for that stuff. And now you have too much stuff. So don't think you're saving money by getting the sale things, because we end up losing the crap and having to rebuy it anyway. This is my garbage. This is a bag filled with bags. We're only allowed to have about 10 bags. This is a coffee pot because I don't drink coffee, but I want to have it for when I have company. And so that's under my sink. Now, this might look like, wow, that's a mess. Maybe in your world it is, but in my world it's wonderful, because for now it's perfect. I live in an apartment that kind of needs a little bit of stuff done to it, and I'm painting things. So I have paint, and that's where the paint is, in a closet on the floor, and everything that has to do with the painting is there. If I get done with a paintbrush, it goes there. If I get done with a sanding thing, like these are sanding things, it goes there. I have some plaster of Paris because I'm making chalk paint. It goes there. Everything that's, painting, this is where it goes. And it's in a closet. This is my cabinet that I have my spices in. Okay, simple, easy to get to. I have my tea in a basket. I love this. Have you ever been searching for your glasses? I have a small little decorative bowl right on a bookshelf. This is a bookshelf. And on one of the shelves, this is where it goes. And whenever I need glasses, I know where they are. Because when I take them off my face, that's where I put them. This is under my sink. Now, I have 3 towels. There's only one because I just had company, and one of them is dirty, and the other one is hanging on a hook, and it's mine. So I have 2 towels just to have 2 towels, and 1 towel that I use. So just 3 towels. It's only me that lives here. I don't need more than that. 2 for a guest, 1 for me. These are washcloths, and this is what this is. It's a little freaking plastic basket that has stuff in there from hotels. It has some stuff from random bathroom stuff, some razors. This is where I shove all that crap. I have a couple of bottles of stuff that I use, and this is where my cleaning stuff is. Bada boom, bada bang, done. All right? So what I want to talk to you about here is it goes where it goes. Think about the things that you're always searching for. Think about the things that make you crazy, like, trying to get that spice and having to dig through tons that you never even use, or you have so much stuff in front of it because all of the spices aren't there. Maybe you have 500,000 boxes of tea. It's time to purge those, okay? And it's time to get something maybe to either keep them in or just keep them on a shelf that it will fit on, and get rid of the excess. It's necessary. You can't have it goes where it goes when it won't fit anywhere. All right. So think about where you need to put things. Think about what you're always searching for, and make a place for them. When I homeschooled, the best thing I ever did, and I did it right away, was I had a basket for each kid. I only did it with 2 of my kids. I had 2 baskets, and that's where their particular stuff went. It was in there. And you could do this too with anybody that goes to school. They don't have to be homeschooled for it. That this is your spot for your school stuff. When you're done, it goes here. This is your space. I read and pray and journal in the morning, and I have a spot. This is where my Bible goes. This is where my notebook goes. I have a pen there. It's always there. I know that we like to, not be in the same room all the time and do certain things. We like to travel around the house, maybe even go out with our stuff. But when it comes in, or when we're done with it in a different area of the house, that's where it goes. Believe it or not, when I lived in my other house, I had to actually have a spot for my guitar, because I would actually lose it. I'd play it in the living room, then I'd play it in my bedroom, then I'd play it on the front steps, and then I'd be like, where's the guitar? and I'd have to walk around the house to find it. You know, the stand would be empty and the guitar would be leaning against the wall in my bedroom. So I said, well, I actually even need, it goes where it goes for the guitar. The guitar always goes here, and that's where it goes. All right, so that's something really important. Like, it might seem like, well, that's ridiculous. Of course, I know that. And if you really did know that, then you wouldn't be searching for things all the time. And I'll tell you, it brings so much freedom to your world. And you just have to remember that when it leaves your hand, it goes where it goes. It's really important that you don't just put it down thinking, I'll remember. We won't remember. We never do. All right, so another thing we're going to talk about is minimalism. All right, what is a minimalist and why would I want to be one? And we have to remember that our number one obstacle is too much stuff. Now, minimalism is a lot of things to a lot of different people. Some people some people who are minimalists live with like a backpack. They have, 52 things or 21 things, and that's all they own, and that's the way they live. Other people who are minimalists are actual families. They have 4 kids, a wife and a husband, and a regular job, and a car, and everything that everybody else would have. But they only have exactly what they need. And maybe some of those people will have nothing on countertops, nothing that they don't need. They're extreme. It's who you want to be. I consider my sister Maria a minimalist, but no one who is a true minimalist, I guess I could say, no one who would consider what a minimalist is would think that she is, because she's very traditional. She's extremely organized, but she's very traditional. She's in a home that she'll probably be in forever, and she has a room not filled, but a room that is designated to her grandchildren. So when her grandchildren come over, there's things for them to play with, but they're all orderly and stuff. She has a teapot collection, so to speak. I mean, it's not overrun. It's maybe about 6 teapots, and she has some lovely antique things and stuff. So if you look at her house, you might say, well, this isn't a minimalist house, but I think it is, because it is for her. She has the minimum of what makes her happy. But the thing is that there's nothing that is excess, because there's no gray area here. You can't say, well, it makes me happy to have 6 blenders. Well, it might make you happy to have 6 blenders, but that doesn't make you a minimalist, all right? Like, you really need to have only what you need. And if you're holding on to the, 4 other blenders because just in case, or that thing that you say, well, I really don't need this, but I know that if I get rid of it, I'm going to need it as soon as I get rid of it. There's 2 things there. One is you just had a prophecy there. You had a self-fulfilling prophecy that you spoke out into the world, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to get rid of that thing, and 2 weeks later you're going to need it because you just put it out there. But the other thing is that, yeah, can that happen? Yes. But I'm telling you, almost always it's under $20 if it does happen, and the life and the peace that it sucks out of your life by holding on to all of those things is well worth the under $20 that you might have to spend to replace it. It happens very far and few between. And if it does happen, then you just have to be happy that you're living the life that you want to live and not a slave to your stuff. Okay? So you determine the kind of minimalist lifestyle that you want to live. It could be with many, many things. It just has to be a minimal amount of things that is needed to live your life happy without excess. Do you see what I mean? It's really very important. People who were very, very organized and had everything together, and maybe they might have had, a little excess in their garage or something like that, found that when they got rid of the excess, and by the excess, I mean that they had shelves in the kitchen, shelves in the closet, all organized and lovely, but with things that they just picked up because they thought like they had to have them, but absolutely never used them. All good things, all had places. And they said, I'm going to get rid of everything I don't use. What happened to those people was across the board, they found that they were happier. They became happier. Now, if you can become happier because you get rid of stuff that's orderly in your house that you don't need, what will happen to people like you and me who are plagued by the excess, who feel identified with it, who condemn ourselves because of it? What would happen to us if we lived that way? I don't think we'd be happy. I think we'd be ecstatic. I think we would be on cloud nine. I think we would be like amazingly joyful. It would be over the top what they experience because of our situation and what it means just to get the house cleaned up. And I'm telling you, I did not embrace this at first. I really didn't. At first, I thought, well, I don't want to get rid of these things. What happened was I started to discover that the things that I didn't want to get rid of, because in my world, they weren't in excess. I didn't have a lot of stuff. I've been practicing this stuff for many, many years. I didn't have a lot of things that were, overdone or taking up more places, spilling out of drawers and that kind of thing. That wasn't happening. But what was happening was I had things I didn't use anymore. I had things I didn't need anymore. And because I was living the life like my sister, right? Like, well, what's the difference if I have this thing? It isn't bothering me. It's still fine. But I discovered that it was stopping me from evolving to the person that I really was becoming, because we always change. We change with every next growth area. Our children grow older. That makes us in a different place. Maybe we're getting to a relationship we weren't in before. That puts us in another place. Maybe first we were just a girl, then we were a girlfriend, then we were a wife, then we were a mother, then we were an empty nester. All of those things. Then we were a student, maybe. Then we were an employee. Then we were an executive. Whatever it is that you could think of, we're always changing into somebody else. And if we drag around our stuff with us that was attached to that other person, then we aren't really fully developing into who it is that the next stage in life is unfolding for us. As children, it isn't very difficult to say, well, I'm not going to wear those baby shoes anymore. Give me a pair of sneakers, right? Get that diaper off of me. I need underwear now. They're not holding on to their Huggies saying, oh, but I had these Huggies for so long. No, it's time to get rid of that crap. You've grown up now. You pull up your pants like, well, they're like the big girls, right? Like, really, we have to see it in the same way. We know that there's people out there that had lovely, lovely childhoods, and they had stuffed animals, and they had toys, and they had books, and they're really, really together and organized. And when you go into their homes, you don't see those stuffed animals and books and toys piled somewhere, boxed up somewhere, or cluttering up a room, because they knew that those things aren't what made them happy. It wasn't the stuff that made them happy. It was the time that made them happy. It's time to let go of that now. They didn't not love their life more than you loved their life because they were able to let go of those things. You didn't love your childhood more than your next door neighbor or your best friend who really has a beautiful home more than them, because they still don't have their McDonald's toys that was a freebie that they got when they were 7. They don't have those anymore. But, let's do a little comparison. I know I talk about not comparing, but in this case, I think it's relevant. Let's do a little comparison on the peace that they're living, maybe, or the fulfillment or the pride, right? Remember we talked about what are some of the things we struggle with? You cannot tell me that it's not directly connected to the amount of stuff that you're holding on to. It is. All right. So this just takes some practice. I'm not telling you to start with family heirlooms. I'm not telling you to start with your your snuggle bunny that you had when you were 4 and you still have her. Keep her forever if you want to. I want to just make this clear that we have to step back and take a look and say, what really does matter? Are those things in a room that I never ever look at? Is your snuggle bunny on your bed? Oh my goodness, keep your little snuggle bunny, okay? But is all of your, books boxed up in the attic or in a closet or piled up in a spare room? Really, honestly, you don't really care about those things. They're not mattering to you. They're actually taking from you. Okay, so it starts with one step at a time. All right, you cannot eat an elephant all in one bite. You eat the elephant one bite at a time. Take care of the things that are easy first. God knows there's enough of them, right? How many pens do you need? Not that hard to get rid of a bunch of pens. How many mugs do you need? It's not that hard to get rid of a bunch of mugs. How many shoes do you need? Right? Things like that. Stuff like how many notebooks do you need? Things that we can do easily. Maybe not like easily because of what we've been accustomed to, but much easier than the things that we think are pulling on our heart, right? So I think I beat a dead horse there again, and I'll move on. Now I'm going to talk about the importance of doing the same things every day. And I know for people like you and me, that is boring. It doesn't sound good, and we don't want to do it. But I'm going to show you a different picture. And when I do, I want you to think about it this way, and it'll change your mind. Now let's think about it looking at this picture. The importance of doing the same things every day. Can't you just feel what this woman is feeling? Like there is freedom involved here. I have done what I had to do. The stuff that I didn't want to do, the stuff that was boring, I am done with that. And you know what I could do now? I can have fun, because the bottom line is that's really what we're after, right? We're after the fun, because those other things aren't fun. We don't want to do them, but it gets us to the fun. So it's kind of like, walking through a maze and we're a little mouse and there's cheese at the end. So we do some things that aren't really fun to get the cheese. And we've got to establish routines. Now, I really can't talk a heck of a lot about this. It's absolutely in TTU. We go over it like crazy, but you can still do this. The routines that you want to establish are begin when your feet hit the floor in the morning, all right? And we need to really get something in place where we do the exact same things every morning so that we aren't deviating from it. The more we do the same thing, the less likely we are going to be distracted by wanting to check email first, or by wanting to turn on the computer, wanting to turn on the television, wanting to do anything out of order. As soon as we start to do something out of order, there is no routine, and there cannot be a habit enforced. A habit only happens by doing the same exact things over and over and over. They can be good habits, they can be bad habits. What we want to do is we want to establish good habits. And so I want you to think about a morning routine. Now, one of the things that has to happen is you've got to get up early enough. It's really important. This is one of our habits that we have, which is wake up a half an hour earlier than you actually have to. It's so important to wake up early enough, because otherwise, really, all you're doing is stepping all over yourself, just trying to get out the door. And then we end up losing so much time, and it's never happy. So that's what I want you to do, okay? Think about when your feet hit the floor until you start your day. What can you write down that you will do every single day? Every single day. And then when you get home, if you're not a stay-at-home mom or dad, if you don't work from home, and you come home, I want you to, after work, say, I want you to establish, what am I going to do the first thing when I come home, and what will I do from then on? And I want you to really, like, put it in writing. All right. We have this extensively in TTU, but you can do this. If you work from home, then you have to have a hard stop from your day, right? A hard stop to your day. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you have to have a transitional portion of your day where, okay, now this is beginning another section of my day. And you have to have something in place so that it can run smoothly. And that's how you're going to fit in all the stuff that has to be fit in life, is that by that. Because what ends up happening is we use an entire Saturday or Sunday or maybe both to do the catch up when it's really not necessary. Lots and lots of people have told me that they feel like they have 8 days a week now. Like, one example is Terry told me that she used to do laundry all day on Saturday, and now she feels like she has another day during the week that is just a free day, like 8 days a week, because she doesn't do that anymore. She doesn't have an entire day that's sucked up with laundry. So it might seem like it's not too fun, but it really does actually end up being fun. Now, something I want to talk about is I'm having a new version of Tidy Tutor University. It's beginning next week. I think I have a slide for it somewhere. It's beginning next week. It's going to be live, and it's going to be Tidy Tutor 2.0. Of course, everybody that is already in Tidy Tutor University is already grandfathered in, and anybody that wants to be in it, you're more than welcome. Now, the reason that I've done a new and improved version, everything from our original TTU is going to be in there, but there's going to be things added. We're going to talk about minimalism in it. We don't talk about that in our TTU, our first course. I'm going to put things in a little bit of a different order than they're in right now. And what else is there? There's a lot of things that I've learned from teaching the course this way, because when I taught it before, it was in like adult schools or with one-on-ones, and once it was done, it was done. Then they moved on and they did their own thing. Well, now I have continued for the past 4 years, had continued feedback, and I've learned some things that, just would improve it. And also, I've grown so much. There's so many other things that has happened in my life that I'm able to teach and to talk about. So that's that. I wish I could remember the other thing. Oh, I know. I remember now. I'm going to incorporate the room by room into it. Before we did zones, and we're still going to do zones, but we're going to have also a room by room section in there that wasn't in there before. And also I'm going to demonstrate how to use a card box. And originally the card box was a part of the system, and that it evolved to the notebook. And so you can decide what you best like. I sincerely believe that even if you do decide to go to the card box, that a notebook is necessary. So if anyone hears me and says, oh, great, I just put all the stuff in the notebook, what if I like the card box? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You'll want both anyway. If you decide, all right, you know what, I'm going to do a card box, I'm going to go with that, you'll still want the notebook. So don't feel like you threw away money or time working on it, all right? Just take my word for it. You will want both, but I'm going to put that also in Tidy. Oh, here it is. Okay, so it's beginning May 6th. It's ending on May 27th. Now listen to me. You don't have to be present at all to benefit from this. It's not like, oh, well, I can't do this because I can't be there at 9 at that time. I can't do it. It doesn't matter. So what? I'm not going to do question and answers after it, so there's not going to be that benefit from it. We'll have, you have question and answers from me all the time. I am the most available instructor, I think, on the planet. It's what I do. So you'll be able to ask me questions on our Facebook page without a problem anyway. So that's what's going to happen for our class. So you don't have to be there. This is when it's beginning, May 6th. And it will be for 4 weeks. And so that will start again, our first session. If you are just beginning, don't feel like, oh no, now I'm going to be, no, you're not going to nothing is going to be lost here. It's an enhancement. Okay. I am just enhancing it. And when we learn from repetition, so when you listen to the new and improved version of TTU, all it will do is solidify more your conviction, your determination, and your commitment, and your ability to get this done. All right. So if this is something that you're interested in, if you have never taken Tidy Tutor University, then all you have to do is go to the tidytutor.com/TTU, and you can register, and you will get everything that you need to begin when we begin. And actually, you'll be able to begin right now, because Tidy Tutor University that's on there now is available, of course. I'm going to put it in the chat box, and then I'm going to open this up for questions for anything that you want to ask, either about the course or about what we did for these past 3 weeks. All right, so www.thetidytutor.com/TTU. Okay, so that if you click on that link, you could register. Okay. All right. And if anybody has any questions now, I'm going to read some things because there's some things in the panel. All right. Stacy said, love TTU. I definitely recommend it to anyone who hasn't joined. There is a ton of content that you don't get or see unless you're a member. It is so worth the value. I dragged my feet initially for financial reasons, but I should have joined a long time ago. It is wonderful. Thank you, Kathy. Looking forward to 2.0. Yay! Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you so much, Stacy. God bless you. Thanks for saying so. Juliet said, thank you so much for doing this. Finding your videos have changed my life. You are the first person who has been able to break it down the way I can understand it. Thanks so much. You know what's so cool is that I know I mentioned this, and this is in the course too, that I have a friend that is an Asperger's physician. And when we spoke one day, after not seeing each other for years, she asked me what I did. Of course, everybody always asks you what you do. I told her. And she said, oh my God, you speak my people's language. Like, some of them were in their 50s. Some of them, one of them was 21. The 21-year-old, I think it was 20 or 21-year-old, he packed his backpack for the first time in his whole life. He put his dishes in the sink for the first time. I agree with you that this system is so beautiful. You know, I learned it from Pam Young and Peggy Jones, the author of Sidetracked Home Executives. It has, I have changed it, evolved it, but the principles are the same. The principles are the same. They were the first people that, or I think I've ever seen, that allowed us to just accept who we are. Just accept that we are so fun-loving. And they're the ones that coined slob, spontaneous, lighthearted, optimistic, and beloved. I don't like to use slob. I changed it to organizationally challenged, because, we're challenged in the area of organization. But still, honestly, nobody says I'm musically challenged, right? That would only happen if we lived in a world filled with musicians. So do we live in a world filled with organized people? I think not, but we do live in a world with a lot of fakers, and most of us just pretend we are. I was watching Hoarders yesterday, I probably have only seen 2 episodes of Hoarders, and not even them all the way through, and yesterday was one of them. I just painted my couch. All right, wait, I'm going to close out now, all right? Now we're just talking because we can, all right? So thank you so much for coming. I'm going to close out right now. We're going to continue to talk a little bit, and that'll be edited out just because it's not relevant to our webinar. And if you need to leave, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you will consider joining Tidy Tutor University. I would love to speak to you if you have any questions about it, if you want to know what it is that you get, if you want to know anything about our money back guarantee. Anything that you want to know, I would be happy to talk to you. You can call me. My phone number is on my website. I have a link now where you can schedule an appointment very easily. You could just go there, see my available dates. We can Skype if you're not in the country, all right? So that's it for this webinar. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you inside of our Room by Room Facebook page and everywhere else that we connect. Take care, everybody, and God bless.